Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are focusing on something that's absolutely foundational to your vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
the wheels and tires.
Mm-hmm.
When you really break it down, these are the only 4 points of contact with the road. They're responsible for, well, everything. Handling, safety, traction, especially in a downpour.
And comfort fuel efficiency.
Exactly. They are maybe the ultimate safety measure, but I think they're also the most overlooked.
I'd agree with that completely. We've been digging into a lot of material on this, everything from, basic maintenance to alignment diagnostics, even new tech,
So what's our mission today?
to give you the essential high-impact facts. Look, this isn't just about making your wheels look shiny. It's about protecting a serious investment and, more importantly, ensuring your safety on the road. By the end of this, you'll know exactly where to focus your attention.
Okay, sounds good. Let's unpack this and start at the very beginning. The simple ritual of cleaning and inspection, and specifically rims and the great enemy of every alloy wheel owner, brake dust.
Right? And brake dust,
Yep.
it's not just some benign road grime.
What is it then?
It's tiny metal particles from the brake rotors, carbon from the pads. And if you have alloy rims, that stuff is highly corrosive. If you just let it sit there, especially when it's damp, it will pit, stain, and just eat away at the clear coat.
So regular cleaning is basically mandatory.
Mandatory if you want it to last, yeah.
That's cleaning. But what about the inspection you should be doing at the same time?
Just as crucial. You're looking for the obvious signs of damage. Buckling, any cracks or chips from, say, hitting a pothole.
And if you find something?
Well, serious damage means replacement, period. But lesser damage, like a slight bend, sometimes that can be fixed with balancing, but you really need a pro to look at it.
Okay.
But here's the critical warning. The thing people miss all the time when they're cleaning. Do not disturb the balancing weights.
You're talking about those small zinc or lead tabs, right? The ones stuck to the rim.
Exactly. The balancing weights.
I can see how you could just scrape one of those off during a vigorous scrub without even noticing.
And people do, all the time. The consequences are immediate. You knock one off, you've instantly thrown the wheel out of balance.
And that causes that wobble in the steering wheel?
It starts as a wobble, yeah. But that vibration, it puts stress on the whole assembly. It causes uneven tire wear, sure. But it also prematurely damages your suspension, your steering components, even the wheel bearings.
So be really gentle around those weights.
Surgically gentle.
Understood. Protects the weights. That focus on chemical safety, it brings us to the tire itself, the rubber. What's the major warning here?
The primary rule is clean your tires before you wash the rest of the car. And this is so important. You have to be mindful of the chemicals you use.
Why is it?
Because tire rubber is chemically engineered. It has conditioners, antioxidants, UV absorbers.
Mm-hmm.
They're literally baked into the compound to stop it from hardening and cracking.
And the wrong cleaner just strips all that away.
It strips them right out. We're talking about those really aggressive cleaners, the ones marketed as one-size-fits-all for wheels.
So caustic degreasers, acid-based cleaners.
Exactly. Caustic degreasers, anything with harsh acids or ammonia, or highly alkaline cleaners. They're great at stripping off brake dust, but they also attack the rubber's protective waxes. You're basically trading a quick clean for a much shorter lifespan.
So what's the safe procedure, practically speaking?
Use a cleaner that's specifically for tires. Make sure the tire's cool and dry, work on one at a time, let the cleaner sit for a minute or two, and then rinse it completely. That little bit of restraint saves you a ton of money on early replacements.
That's a great insight. Okay, let's move past the surface. Let's talk about the core maintenance trifecta. Pressure, tread, and rotation. Starting with pressure, seems like the easiest check with the biggest payoff.
It is the foundation. Proper pressure dictates the tire's rolling resistance, so your fuel efficiency, and crucially the shape of the contact patch.
That's the little bit of rubber actually touching the road.
The only part touching the road. Yeah.
So let's break down the two ways this can go wrong. Underinflation and overinflation.
Well, underinflation it's arguably the most dangerous of the two.
Really? Why is that?
It causes the tire to wear way faster on the outer edges. But the real hazard, it's the heat.
The heat generation.
Dramatic increase in heat. The sidewalls flex way too much. The internal temperature shoots up, and that hugely increases your risk of a blowout, especially on a long highway drive.
And overinflation. What's the problem there?
That causes wear mostly in center of the tread, but the big performance issue is a loss of grip.
Ah.
The tire becomes too stiff, sort of rounds out, and that shrinks your contact patch. That means less rubber on the road, which is a huge problem in wet conditions. It makes hydroplaning much more likely.
We know you shouldn't use the max pressure stamped on the tire's sidewall. How often do people make that mistake?
All the time, so it's worth repeating. The sidewall number is the engineering limit, not the daily operating pressure.
And the correct pressure is?
It's on the placard, on the pillar of the driver's door, usually, or sometimes inside the fuel door. That's the number the car's manufacturer set for optimal safety for that specific vehicle.
Any other vital habits to get into?
Check the pressure when the tires are cold, before you've driven more than a mile or so. And please, check the spare tire once in a while.
Right.
And always, always replace the valve dust caps. They seem so small, but they keep grit and moisture out of the valve, which prevents those slow, annoying leaks.
Simple stuff. Okay, next up in the trifecta is tread. When is it officially time to say goodbye to a tire?
The legal minimum is 1 millimeter, but you should really replace them long before that. Modern tires make it easy, though. They have built-in tread wear indicators.
The little bumps in the grooves.
Those little rubber bumps, yeah. There's usually a small mark on the sidewall that shows you where to look. When your tread wears down and it's level with that bump, your wet braking performance is seriously compromised. Replacement is urgent at that point.
And if you don't have those, the old penny test still works. What's the threshold we're looking for?
It's 2/32 of an inch, about 1.6 millimeters. Once you hit that, the grooves just can't clear water effectively anymore. Your risk of hydroplaning goes way up.
Okay, and the final piece of the puzzle is rotation.
Rotation is essential. Tires just wear differently depending on where they are on the car, especially with front-wheel drive. We recommend rotating every 5,000 miles, or about 8,000 kilometers. It just spreads the wear out evenly.
And you mentioned bundling this with other services.
Absolutely. Think of it as your preventative maintenance bundle. When you rotate, get a wheel balancing and an alignment check done at the same time. Doing this all together prevents that really damaging uneven wear.
Saves you money in the long run.
So much money. And remember the golden rule for replacement. Always replace all 4 tires at once. Same type, same tread. If you mix them, you totally change the car's handling and stability.
Let's shift into diagnostics. So say a driver notices some uneven wear. The sources have a great sort of learner's checklist of causes. Can we run through them?
Sure. Number 1, as we just covered, is incorrect pressure. That's the easy one.
Right.
Second and third are alignment issues, specifically toe and camber misalignment. Fourth, you could have serious suspension problems, worn shocks, struts, ball joints. Fifth would be improper balancing. That gives you those weird wear patterns like cupping.
What else?
Sixth, just aggressive driving habits, hard cornering, slamming on the brakes. And finally, you could have a physically bent wheel or, frankly, just low-quality tires that wear out fast.
Okay, let's drill down on alignment. You mentioned toe and camber. Help us visualize the difference.
Great question. Let's start with toe. Imagine you're looking down at your car from above. If the front edges of the tires point slightly inward, like you're pigeon-toed, that's toe in. If they point out, it's toe out.
And that causes the tire to sort of scrub sideways.
It scrubs sideways as it goes down the road, yeah. And that leads to this feathered wear pattern on the edge of the tread.
Okay, so what's camber?
Camber is the tilt of the wheel when you look at it from the front of the car. If the top of the wheel tilts inward, that's negative camber. If it tilts outward, that's positive.
And that would cause wear on one side only.
Exactly. Incorrect camber makes the tire ride on just the inner or outer shoulder of the tread, leading to really severe one-sided wear.
That makes it crystal clear. What are the signs I should be looking for when I'm driving?
The signs are usually pretty obvious. Your steering wheel will be off-center even when you're driving straight, or the car will constantly pull or drift to one side, and you have to fight it.
I've felt that before.
Another one is the steering wheel not returning to center properly after you make a turn.
Let's talk about balancing. We touched on it, but why is adding those little weights so important for more than just comfort?
It's absolutely fundamental. An unbalanced wheel creates that harmonic vibration we talked about. Balancing is all about making it rotate with perfect smoothness.
It's not just about stopping the wobble in the steering wheel.
Not at all. It's a component protection measure. That constant vibration puts stress on things like wheel bearings, steering linkages, suspension bushings, parts that are not designed to handle that kind of force.
So when should a driver absolutely get a balance check?
Every time you get new tires, for sure. After any kind of tire repair, during your regular 5,000-mile rotation, or, immediately if you notice those vibrations or see weird wear patterns starting to form, don't ignore vibrations.
Got it. Okay, moving on from maintenance to the hardware itself. The big debate. Alloy versus steel wheels. What are the trade-offs beyond just how they look?
The key difference is weight. It all comes down to weight and material science. Alloy wheels, aluminum or magnesium, are way lighter than steel wheels. And that weight reduction really affects vehicle dynamics because it reduces something called unsprung weight.
Okay, let's unpack that. We hear that term unsprung weight all the time. Why does making the wheels lighter matter so much?
Unsprung weight is any part of the car not supported by the suspension. So the wheels, tires, brakes, when you make those parts lighter, you reduce their inertia.
Which lets the suspension work better.
It lets the suspension react faster and more efficiently to bumps. The lighter the wheel, the quicker the suspension can push that tire back down onto the road to maintain contact.
Better contact means better handling.
Better contact means better handling, better stability, better grip, the whole package.
What about durability, though?
That's the trade-off. Steel is the brute. It's heavy, but it's incredibly durable. It's less likely to crack, though it will bend, and it's prone to rust if you chip the coating.
An alloy.
Alloy is strong, it's better at dissipating heat, which helps your brakes, but it is more susceptible to damage from a bad pothole or hitting a curb. It tends to crack or bend more easily. So steel is cheap and tough, alloy performs better, but it's a bit more delicate.
How does wheel size itself play into this? Is going for bigger wheels really about performance, or is it just aesthetics?
Oh, it drastically alters performance.
Yeah.
Because changing the wheel size changes the tire's sidewall height.
Yeah.
If you get larger wheels, you have to use lower profile tires. That means shorter, stiffer sidewalls. This reduces how much the tire flexes when you're cornering, which massively improves your steering precision and handling.
But there has to be a cost.
There is. The cost is comfort. With less rubber there to cushion the bumps, the ride gets a lot harsher. And depending on the weight, very large heavy wheels can sometimes hurt your fuel efficiency a bit.
So conversely, smaller wheels with taller tires.
You get a more cushioned, comfortable ride. The taller sidewall absorbs impacts much better. They're also often lighter, which can be better for fuel efficiency and acceleration. The downside is that added flex can make high-speed cornering feel a little less precise. It's always a trade-off.
Handling precision versus ride comfort.
That's the game.
Great. Let's wrap up by looking at specialized tires and tech, starting with the big three: summer, winter, and all-season tires.
This is all about the rubber compound and the tread design. Summer tires are for warm weather. Their compound gets really hard when temperatures drop below about 45 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 Celsius.
They turn into hockey pucks, basically.
They do. They lose their grip.
Yeah.
But in warm, dry, or wet conditions, they maximize handling.
And the dedicated winter tire.
The opposite. They're engineered to stay soft and pliable in the cold. They use compounds with silica and natural rubber. They also have deeper, more aggressive tread with these little slits called sipes that bite into snow and ice.
But they wear out really fast in the summer.
Extremely fast.
Which leaves the all-season option.
The classic compromise. They use a compound and tread designed to be adequate, just adequate across a wide range of conditions. They're great for moderate climates, but they will never match a dedicated seasonal tire in extreme heat or heavy snow.
Okay, let's talk tech. TPMS, the tire pressure monitoring system.
TPMS is a critical safety system. It's mandated on most new vehicles now. It just monitors the air pressure and warns you if it gets too low or too high. There are two main types.
Which one is more accurate?
That would be direct TPMS. It uses actual sensors inside the tire, usually built into the valve stem. They transmit real-time, precise pressure readings.
And the other method?
That's indirect TPMS. It uses the car's anti-lock braking sensors, the wheel speed sensors. It doesn't actually measure pressure.
So how does it work?
It's physics. A low tire has a slightly smaller diameter, so it has to spin a little faster to keep up with the others. When the system sees one wheel spinning faster than the rest, it assumes there's a pressure loss and gives you a warning. It's cheaper, but less accurate.
Finally, run-flat tires. Are they the future or just a gimmick with too many downsides?
They're an excellent safety net. They have these really reinforced sidewalls that let you keep driving after a puncture.
For how long?
Usually about 50 to 100 miles at a max speed of 50 miles per hour, enough to get you off the highway and to a service station safely.
What's the trade-off for that convenience?
You pay for it in ride quality and cost. The ride is noticeably stiffer, firmer, because of those reinforced sidewalls. They're much more expensive than standard tires. And critically, they're often not repairable after you've driven on the flat.
So you have to buy a whole new tire.
A whole new, expensive tire. And because you might not even notice a pressure loss visually, They absolutely must be used with a working TPMS.
This has been a huge deep dive. From something as simple as avoiding the wrong soup to the complex physics of unsprung weight, it's clear that these basic checks, pressure, tread, rotation, they just deliver enormous returns.
They really do.
I think the big financial takeaway is to prioritize the best quality tires you can afford. You can cut costs somewhere else.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, every single factor we discussed, pressure, balance, wheel material, tire type, it all fundamentally changes how your car interacts with the road.
Yeah.
Understanding that makes you a much safer, more informed driver.
So what's a final thought for people to take away from this? We've learned how critical alignment is, so this raises a question for you to think about. What simple visual check can you do before you even get in the car that might give you an early warning sign of a subtle problem? Well, the source material suggests just taking a moment. Stand back from your car and look at the angle of your tires. See if you notice any unusual lean or tilt compared to the body of the vehicle, that subtle camber change we talked about. It could be your first clue. Just keep an eye out.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.